Okay, we are at time. Let's go ahead and get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Everyone is present and accounted for. Any additions or modifications for the agenda? Staff, anything?
Nope.
Nothing? Thing on the board? Okay.
I have a frozen camera. Can I hold off for a second?
Okay. Just let us know when you're ready. Always want to make sure our online viewers are getting the feed, so we'll give them a minute to get it all going.
All right, we're good.
Okay, moving on, approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion regarding any of those items?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Oh, second it.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion regarding approving the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, public participation. Unless anyone forgot to sign in, doesn't look like we have anything other than your golf committee, right? So we'll have you present with the committee reports if that's okay.
Yeah, when it's ready.
Oh,
If that's okay.
It looks like Dana.
We do have a hand up.
Yes, I'm
Dana.
Oh, you didn't put yes up? Okay. Danny Camp, go ahead.
first.
Yep. You're
And then
only.
I have a report for the trail committee too, but I'll do that later.
We'll do that, yeah, with the committee reports.
And then I made you a little handout too, so.
Thank you.
You can pass that down. Dana Kemp, a Newberg resident, and I'm with the Crystal Riley Park Equestrian. We started the Crystal Riley Equestrian 501c in October of '23, and it was really to promote and preserve the horse activities at Bob and Crystal Riley Park. Now I'm first, and I'm like, can't talk, sorry. In partnership with CPRD. To this day, we have over 400 members or supporters. We've raised close to 30,000 cash donations, and we have a large volunteer base. The reason I'm here tonight is we are excited to share with you that we received a generous donation for all-weather footing, which is valued at about $109,000. And on top of that, trucking is $9,000 that was also donated, and that's about 20 dump trucks.
Wow.
We figured that would cover approximately 1,000 linear feet of trail with about 3 feet wide. And it's suited for all terrain, especially the wet and the steeper areas of the trail. The donation is available now. It can be delivered within weeks, like within this next week. And it is time sensitive. It's only going to be available to us for about a month to possibly 2 months. The benefits to CPRD is that if we accept the donation, we can apply that to the trails on the east side, and we can have year-round usage for bikes, hikers, equestrians, and other community members. It aligns with the master plan, which was improving the footing, and I think in the master plan it says something to the regard of $800,000 allocated for that, so that would get us closer to reaching that. It also coincides with the Heritage Trail Committee. We've been working on the east side as far as mapping signage with Brian to see what we could to make that large loop and have it a year-round trail. And then we would also volunteer to recruit and organize volunteers with the community to assist in putting down the material, raking, trail maintenance, whatever it would take. So the ask tonight would be to, if the board would accept the generous donation and proceed with the footing component of the master plan. And then we're also asking to capitalize on that gift and have you match the donation of $109,000 so that we can purchase the rock base to put down underneath the all-weather footing, so that we could have year-round trails on the east side.
So, with what's been donated, that can't be put on until there's a rock base installed first? Is that the,
You know, it can be. It, what the donator is telling us that if you have a rock based, it will go further and it would also last longer. So it's a sand Euro fabric combination, all-weather footing. So if you have that rock base on there, that would actually, you know, it wouldn't just go into the mud. You'd have that rock base, so it would last longer also, and it would drain better.
Does 109,000 cover 1,000 feet exactly also in rock base?
Our rough estimate is that it will cover 1,000 linear feet at 3 feet wide.
The 109 for the rock as well.
Oh,
That's, I think, what she was asking.
I think the estimate they gave us was a little bit under for rock, and then you could buy additional all-weather footing if we needed more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, have you seen this yet?
No,
This,
I'm here about it.
what are your thoughts on the ability for staff to work with this, and then also just the installation process, but prepping it with rock? Is that something we even have in our budget? Is that available, and do we have the manpower to do that?
It's not presently in the budget.
Right.
Can't hear Brian.
Dan, I'm gonna join you.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Plan D will be next back here. Thanks. It's not presently in the budget for the rock, or the material. I think staff absolutely could work with the master plan, and that was part of the development of that all-weather trail up there, to that question.
So is this a situation where if we don't have the rock budgeted, it would still make sense to install the all-weather footing, or is this something that you'd need to look into?
I would for sure want to research that and do it,
Okay.
for lack of a better way to say, correctly the first time.
Right.
If it does take
Right.
those two to be in combination.
Okay.
And I was thinking too, if you didn't want to move forward right now, there is room at the farmhouse. If you were interested in it, you could have it delivered and it could still be there, so that when you did have, you know, the budgeted funds for the rock.
Okay.
And it still may be able to be put in some areas, you know, it's really nice in those wet areas, like when Brian and I walked the trail the other day, there's coming out of the creek, there's quite a bit of water. It'd be a great spot there, even without the rock. And in some of those steeper areas too, it's not gonna wash like your typical hog fuel.
Yeah.
Where
So-
would this be dumped at, this material?
Ideas.
There's plenty of opportunity up there to locate material, be it our hog fuel that we use on trails and/or any other supplemental materials that we would want to use on the trails. It's fortunate we have that, almost 400 acres, so we can make room for a lot of different stuff in different places.
Okay, we have the equipment to move it all?
We could provide that too, absolutely.
Okay.
It would just take coordination and, time and material.
Okay.
So the
So-
100, sorry, the 109,000 is just for the material then? It's not for installing, right? It's just the material?
No, it's just for the all-weather footing and the trucking, because the trucking's kind of a huge piece too, so said they would pay for the trucking too. And I would certainly work with Brian, if you accept it, I'd work with Brian to coordinate that between the donator and Brian to, you know, on the trucking of where it's gonna be dumped and all of those things.
I have like a mulch picture in my head. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Oh, the footing?
Yeah.
People use it in their arenas quite a bit, so it's a sand, and you'll see some, like, help me out, Lauren.
Yeah, it's like strips of fiber
Yeah.
next to the sand that helps kind of keep the sand from clumping. It helps the sand
Yeah.
from draining, so it does have little strips of fiber in it.
Is it easy to walk on for hikers?
I asked that question too, and I think it depends on the rock base and then how thick we put the sand down. So I think if we put 4 inches like you would in a typical arena, it's gonna be like walking at the beach. But if you put the rock base and maybe an inch, we could play with. I think that's something Brian's probably gonna have to play with to see what's that right, for the footing height.
Clay,
Yeah, so I had a question about the expectation when you say a match. So can you expand on that?
We were just feeling like in order to get that footing down, the donation's 109. We felt that if you matched 109,000, and that would go towards rock and additional material. We felt like then we could really make those trails, available year round, and we wouldn't have to close.
Sure.
Is that what your question was?
Kind of. I just wanted to make sure I understood it because we do have different costs that we put into, which the board is probably aware and many other people are aware. So, for example, in this month's kind of report on hours from parks, there are 72 hours that were put into the park. That's dollar figures, but that's different than, say, what's in our capital budget. And so the capital budget are usually those new and expansion type projects. Sometimes they're SDC, sometimes they come out of the general fund for more repair and replace. And so implementation of something like Bob and Crystal Riley Park's master plan is usually something we do ahead of time. To the best of my knowledge, that's not in this budget.
I don't believe so.
So the idea of us coming up with $109,000 now seems challenging. We could budget for it. I will say that we've already started the budget, so 109,000 was not what I was planning on putting in there, but we haven't gotten much direction on what the expectations are. So,
And I think our intent was getting you closer to implementing the master plan, and that, that footing in there was, I think the price they gave us, was it last year that the master plan? Or year before, was 800,000, so that cost has probably already gone up. So it was kind of helping you get closer so that you're not gonna have a huge
right.
chunk when you
And
start
that
to
is,
do
and that is certainly appreciated. So I don't want to say that we're completely interested. The donation seems very generous. We are working on the budget process now. If the board has comments or input,
So,
it'd be helpful.
yeah, Jim.
So you're saying this is, Dana, this is time sensitive in that 3 months from now, it's not gonna happen, it has to happen now?
They gave us a month to maybe 2 months to make a decision because that product has to be moved from where it's at. And so if we don't take it, then it'll go somewhere else.
But the product can be stored
Yes.
or somewhere on the park. Brian, you're pretty confident that if we have to, we can store it, and that we have time to decide how best to implement and install
Absolutely.
it. Right.
I wanted to continue I wasn't done,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I'm
Okay,
gonna say,
I'm
it's,
sorry.
it's outside now, so it's all weather material, so if you pile it up in the field below the farmhouse, I mean, you could use it over a period of time.
my next question, I've got a couple.
Okay.
I'll let you go.
Okay, I'll hold off.
All right. The company that's donating this is very generous, and I always love donations. Artister does. Are they the ones we would also be expected to purchase the gravel from, or is that a separate vendor?
This is a private individual that's making the donation, or family, and the gravel would be purchased from
The
your
cheapest
choice,
bid.
or we can talk to the people that are trucking it. I mean, we could maybe talk with them about a deal for hauling the gravel too. But it could be your choice, or it could be, we could find a contractor for you too.
Would it be difficult if the staff could come back and make a recommendation after they research everything, just to come here and give this to us? And I'm sure it's a great thing, and if we lose it, I don't want to. But it's always good for the staff to research it, bring it back to the board with that information. Because again, everybody, including the staff, this is the first we've heard of it. But on the flip side of that, I also realized that all of a sudden people can just jump out at you and say, hey, I've got this, I'm gonna give it to you now, take it or leave it. So I don't know if we have time to look at that, to make sure the staff takes a hard look at it before it's trucked in, or not.
We have a little bit of time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to answer your question too, we just found out like 2 days ago.
Okay,
So
Otherwise,
we would have,
reached out.
we
to
probably
Brian.
would have waited, and we know you're in the middle of budget now, so we wanted to get it on today, otherwise we would have waited. So sorry to spring that on you. But I think if it took you a couple weeks,
okay.
I think that would be fine. If it took 3 months, we'll lose it for sure. I know that.
Question, Brian, Was this material something that we were planning on putting on these trails anyway?
The goal was in the master plan to make all-weather footing throughout the park. This is the first of this
Yeah.
material I'm hearing about. I'm not familiar with it at
Yeah.
all.
So,
Plan was to gravel it.
so my belief is, if we can get it for free, it's a no-brainer. We say, yes, we'll take it for free, and if we have to store it, let's store it. As far as the gravel portion of it, if it makes sense that we can partner with, if we can find the money, you guys figure out what you think is best, but I think it's smarter to take the material while we can get it, especially if we're gonna already be putting this type of material on our trails.
Well, it's not typically used on trails, I don't think, because it's expensive, you know. So
Well, there
it's
you
not
go.
used
There's
for-
another good reason to
it's
step
not
up.
It's typically used in arenas.
Okay.
Because it's expensive.
And
Okay.
it's typically more high-end arenas because of the cushion, and it's built for, you know, a 1,000-pound animal using it day after day, so it's very durable.
Okay.
And I was gonna say too, I could also meet with Brian and get a sample of it so that you can actually see it, feel it, touch it, and see what you think
Are the
too.
arenas gravelled?
They are
And then
rocked,
it's on top of that?
they're rocked underneath for drainage, and so these arenas, indoor, outdoor, usually drain very well, so you won't have that standing water. So it is a rock base with the sand over the top. Yeah, and the information that we got as far as the gravel recommendation and the estimate of how far it would, you know, go on the trail was from the contractor that built the arena.
What are they saying, that it needs 3/4, or are they saying it's,
I don't know that he told me exactly what rock.
okay,
It's pretty standard.
I think it is. I don't know that I have it in my, I don't have it, Jason, but I can find out.
okay.
All right, Gail, I
I
think
have
you had.
a couple of questions. How far does 1,000 feet go? Like, is that like, you know, a third of our part? Like, how, if we commit to a more expensive, well, if we commit to a more expensive material, how much more are we gonna have to come up with later? That's the question. Lots,
I think,
okay.
well, when we walked it with the trail with Brian, you've got a lot of chips and stuff on the trail now, but I didn't walk the whole east side, so I don't know how much more we would need to finish that loop we were talking about.
Right, so we could use it in conjunction, absolutely, with areas that we already have existing footing on that are basically year-round. I mean, we were just out there a couple weeks ago. So by incorporating this with stuff that we've already done for improvements on the trails, it could go a lot further.
Okay.
It's not an exact answer to your question.
Second question, how does this weather? Are we gonna have little fibery things all over the park in a few years, or does it does it stay tidy?
It stays pretty tidy, but I can't
Okay.
guarantee that it's not. But I can get more information for you on that.
Okay.
Because people use it in their outdoor arenas, and, you know, they don't want that flying all over their farm. So it's a good question, but I can find out for you.
I have it, it
Oh.
doesn't fly, it's heavy enough that it stays in the sand, but, you know, as the trails get used, if there's no barrier on the trail, it could, you know, spread farther off the trail, but, it doesn't fly around.
Okay, so we would need barriers on the trail.
With the rock
I don't know
base.
if you need I would suggest putting barriers, but I just mean,
Okay.
just like the hog fuel, you know, can get spread off of wherever you put it,
Yeah.
that might happen as well.
Okay, other than that, I agree with what Jason said. If it's free and we can have it, we should just,
Yeah, and what I would like to do is if we make a motion to move on this, we'll leave it up to Brian to actually look at the material and find out, is this something that we want? Does this look like it's gonna be a problem? And if you decide, guys, I don't think we should move on it, even if we make the motion that we can have this, if you decide no, I'm good with saying no, so we'll leave it to your discretion, Brian.
And I was gonna follow Jason's lead. Really, this is a staff topic to handle right now. And I think that we could trust the staff to do that. We can make a motion if you'd like, or have the staff look into it, and if they decide that it's something that they wanna do, then we can move ahead with it.
The only thing I would mention, I appreciate that, and I agree with that, is on behalf of the generous donation they're offering, there was the words matched incorporated there, so that's where you folks get involved, I think.
Right, yeah, and I think it makes sense because we're kind of talking about rock and all these details, and that's not really what we do here. That's what Brian does. That's what the experts do. So I think, we want to accept the donation, and it makes sense if we have the ability to store it, we store it, and use it, we use it. But I'd just say, my opinion would be we defer to staff, see what you can do with it. And then in terms of matching, I don't think we're in a position to make any decision on that tonight. I think staff will determine the usability, what else is required, and then as we go into budget, we'll definitely be talking about those sorts of things.
Okay, so
So-
when you have your budget conversations, then you can talk about maybe.
Right. I mean,
rock
and
that's
Brian
needed.
might see that, it can be used with or without gravel, or in
Okay.
certain situations, certain spots. And so, those are all the fact-finding stuff that, maybe bring something to us in budget or bring something at our next meeting. But,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think, if everyone agrees, that we need to make any decision other than, thank you very much, and Brian, let us know what you think.
Well, with that said, though,
Yeah, we
just
should.
really quick, if we were to lose this donation because of the time, then I think that we should give the staff the responsibility to accept the donation if they feel it's appropriate for what we're doing. So I think that that's important to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
So
I don't know if you, Clay, if you have something to
my
say.
feelings would be that the donation and the budget, they might be related, but I think that from a staff level, we can move forward with that, and we will be happy to speak to this group so that they understand what we can do and where we're going to do it, what to expect from the budget that's going to be proposed, so that they can figure out if this donation is a good fit for us at this time, and given the time sensitive and the materials and all that. So it does feel like a staff thing. I don't feel that there's a formal motion needed from the board at this time. Brian, I would ask that you be the point of contact, but loop me in so we can talk budget, and loop me and perhaps Casey. Absolutely. And thank you.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the donation is not dependent on the match, so the
Okay.
donation
Yeah.
will be there anyway,
But,
regardless of the
but
match.
knowing that we're getting a
You'll need
bunch
a
of
little
product
bit, though.
delivered, then that can't be used until we do something, that's understood.
Yeah.
So,
We've already
thank
said-
you.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Yeah.
board.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, Dana.
Okay, any other public participation, comments? Okay, oh, you did sign here. Go ahead and head over there if you'd like to speak.
Good evening, directors. As a community member and an advocate for local veterans in Newberg, Dundee, and the surrounding area, I respectfully make a request to Chelan Park and Recreation District to consider exploring ways to partner with local veterans and their supporters in securing a permanent dedicated space within the district. This request arises in light of recent discussions regarding the potential closure of Bonnie Benedict Preschool and reflects a unique opportunity to repurpose CPRD assets for meaningful community use. It's important to note that veterans are not seeking to benefit from the potential closure of the preschool. The intent behind this request is not opportunistic, but rather rooted in a long-standing need that has yet to be met. Should CPRD determine that the preschool must close for financial or operational reasons, I ask that veterans be considered as potential stewards of the space or another appropriate property. This request is about meeting a community need, not capitalizing on the misfortune of another program. So the need. Newberg is home to approximately 1,723 veterans, and Dundee includes an estimated 171 veterans, making up about 7.5% of its population. Combined, these two cities account for roughly 1,894 veterans, which represents approximately 25.6% of the total veteran population in Yamhill County. Let me get my glasses. Despite the significant concentration of service members, there is currently no dedicated facility in either city where veterans can gather, access resources, or find community support. This isn't just a matter of space. Veterans need a place where they can be among other veterans, people who understand their experiences. They need a place to build community over coffee and shared stories, a place for peer support, camaraderie, healing, and purpose. A senior center cannot fill this need, nor can an occasional gathering in a borrowed room. Veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, OIF, OEF, and post 9/11 generations are all seeking the same thing: connections close to home. Shared connections among veterans are not just beneficial, they're essential. Being able to relate to others with similar experiences fosters a sense of trust, validation, and support that is rarely found elsewhere. These connections often serve as a lifeline, helping veterans feel understood, less isolated, and more rooted in their communities. Mental health and proximity matter. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Oregon lost 139 veterans to suicide in 2021. Nationally, veterans face a higher risk of suicide than the general population. One of the most effective ways to combat this is through localized community support. When veterans have access to nearby veteran-specific resources and peer networks, they are far more likely to stay connected and engaged. Asking them to travel to another city is not a viable substitute for having a home base in their own community. CPRD's unique position. CPRD is an asset-rich district with extensive holdings in land, buildings, and infrastructure. If any agency is in a position to help, it is CPRD. The potential closure of the Bonnie Benedict preschool opens the door for reimagining that space as a veterans facility. Should the preschool site be unavailable, I ask CPRD to consider these alternatives. Lease or sell the Bonnie Benedict preschool for $1, allowing time for veteran supporters to explore fundraising options. Transfer or lease the Chehalem Armory back to local veterans, restoring it to the community it was originally built to serve. Donate or lease a parcel of CPRD-owned land where veterans could construct their own facility, potentially through grants, community fundraising, or a public-private partnership. This is not a request for a handout. It's a call for partnership, a chance for CPRD to support a segment of the population that spans generations, conflicts, and decades of service. A practical and a heartfelt solution. With rising veteran engagement, continued population growth, and the ongoing mental health crisis among our service members, the time to act is now. A facility would allow regular meetings and events, mental health and peer counseling services, resource fairs and VA support visits, fellowship among veterans of all ages. And by taking this step, CPRD would not only fill a longstanding gap in service, but also honor the very people who have served us. Let Newberg and Dundee be known as communities that take care of their own. I respectfully ask that CPRD pause any irreversible decisions regarding the Bonnie Benedict preschool to allow time for community discussion and exploration of options. Engage in direct dialogue with local veteran advocates to evaluate all viable options, including the possibility of creating a temporary committee that could facilitate discussions on how CPRD may assist in addressing the lack of recreation and community space for this specific demographic of residents. Explore legal and logistical pathways to lease, sell, or donate land or facilities for veteran use. And I am prepared to assist with public outreach, networking, and connecting with the right agencies to help make a partnership successful. I'm also willing to help identify individuals and organizations that could manage grant applications to support this effort. So let us not be the generation that lets our veterans slip through the cracks. Let us be the community that steps up and says, we see you, we have not forgotten you, and this is your home too. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your continued service to our community.
Thank you. Okay.
And board, I wanted to call out that this comment was largely related to item 7B. And so if you have questions for the commenter or want to engage, you could engage there rather than items for not
Agreed.
on public comment, not
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Okay, any other public comments that we may have missed? Going once, going twice? Okay. Moving on to some fun stuff, the 2023 audit report.
Could I interject?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just understood that we're not able, it's not going out online. Can we check with Richard to make sure that's okay?
Richard, are we online?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Okay. Just checking to make sure. Good? Okay. Okay, staff, I'll let you take it from here.
So there is not a presentation for this, but I did want to go over what's in your packet and what's in the staff report that I gave to you. So this was something that I wanted us to hop on as soon as we had an opportunity. So one of the things that I noticed when I was getting started was that we were a bit behind on the audits. And so one of the things we were able to get was our, what is typically called the 2023 audit for the period spanning July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 from the auditor shortly after reaching out to them. Even though I would say that before I started, some of our staff here between December and my arrival had reached out several times, which I think also, once I reached out, helped them realize that they needed to get the report to us. So I think our staff did a good job of chasing them around. We finally got that audit, so I was pleased to be able to share that with the board. But there were findings associated with that audit that indicated there are some changes that we need to make. And the Secretary of State in Oregon has a process for that called a plan of action. And so there's a recommendation in this staff report that 3 things happen. 1, that you receive the audit, so you don't have to do anything for that, so no motions required. That 2, you adopt a resolution which directs staff to create and engage a plan of action for addressing the findings communicated by the auditor in our 2023 audit. And then you also make a motion because of the purchasing thresholds for us to go ahead and pay for this 2023 audit in the amount of $28,800. So that was per the engagement letter that was signed before we went into this. It's a fixed cost. So there's not a negotiation or hours associated with it. It's just the cost. But those are the things, but I'd be happy to answer any further questions that you have.
First one is just for the public. Can you describe kind of the process of audits and how the prioritization of the auditing companies has kind of left us a little bit behind by no fault of our own?
Sure. So all public entities throughout the state of Oregon are required to do an annual audit, but some entities tend to be higher in the hierarchy than others. So for example, school districts, they have severe repercussions if they don't get their audit done on time every year. So they tend to be prioritized by certain auditors, and I believe ours, more so than others. That the term that was used when I reached out to the Secretary of State to speak with their staff, and we did request an extension for the audit that we're overdue on right now. I haven't gotten a response on that yet, but the request has been made, and I expect them to give us a yes. But they said that for agencies like ours that we're in, it's more reputational. Now, reputational can have consequences if it's for insurance or if it's for finance or those sorts of things, so it's not something to take lightly, but the consequences are not as hard and fast for our agency as they could be for others. But we still want to get there, and so one of the things that is mentioned in the superintendent report about the budget is that we're expecting to do 2 audits in the next coming year, which means we get to pay for it twice. So we're going to try and get caught up as best we can. We think we can do that by basically getting in line earlier and hopefully staying on track better. We're also going to be going out for an RFP after we finish the 2024 budget, which is the one that we're overdue on right now. So those are some of the goals and the ways that we're thinking about it, and that's part of the hierarchy aspect too.
Next question. So, this is really late, right?
Agreed.
And 2024 is late, right? So are we gonna stay, are you suggesting we stay with the same auditor for 2024 budget?
Yes,
audit?
because we've already started.
Okay,
So the only reason I didn't want to do it is I didn't want to sit on it longer.
okay.
Since we're already late, and to request the extension, we had to indicate what CPA firm we were with, so that we had engaged someone or that we had someone engaged to do that. So that was part of that extension request that was required. That was part of what we had to fill out. If we had left it blank, which I suppose was an option, I just don't know what their response would be.
So is the 28.8 for the 23, is that gonna be the same price for the 2024?
It'll be more. It's approximately 31.1, I believe. Yeah.
Times 2.
Right, times 2. So, and that will be budget, and that's why it was called out in the budget. It's something that we wouldn't normally want to do that, but we do want to get caught up. We feel it's important.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sure that we need to approve this if it's already in the budget as a line item. Is it?
It's already in the budget as well.
It's in the budget as a line
Line
item.
item,
So
I'm
if we don't need to approve it, then that's fine.
I think that if it's underneath,
It was the state.
Do you need it for the plan then?
We do need we do require that the board adopt resolution 2025-01 for this plan of action, because that's what, it lets that state agency know that this board has seen the information and that they want us to move forward with making these changes. And I will say that some of these changes have already been made. If you look at the plan of action, Some of it had to do with things like separation of duties and the sharing of passwords, and those have already been resolved. So not everything has been resolved, but that's in that plan of action. That's part of why we did those. So some of it had to do with the superintendent role, having access to things that didn't allow that separation of duties to keep control on things. And so when I came in, those were already resolved. Staff set me up with those controls in place. So I do feel like those have been in place for, I don't know how long. So it only looks at that snapshot in that fiscal year 22 to 23.
Yeah, I read this over and I appreciate your due diligence on this, and it looks like it's gonna flow, and we're gonna take care of some of our backlog that we've talked about as a board for many, many months.
We're gonna hustle as much as possible to make that happen.
But with that said, I think that all we really need to do, since it's already a budgeted item, is approve the resolution and go from there. I mean, does the board agree with that?
Yeah.
You wanna make
Yes.
Okay.
a motion?
I'm not gonna make a motion because I didn't memorize what he just said,
As stated.
but if you wanna, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Number 2 on the recommendations.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-01, which directs staff to engage in a plan of action to address findings communicated by the auditor in the 2023 audit.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt the resolution 2025-01 as previously stated. Any discussion regarding that motion?
Did you want to ask if there are any public comments on this item before we do this?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and open up. Any public comments? We got one.
Yeah, for the public,
Microphone, please.
Yeah, Mike. And I should remind everyone, name and address when you speak. Sorry for getting that earlier.
Bob Travers, 408 Ironwood, or Newberg. What else?
No, go ahead.
That's it, okay. Question regarding the audit. When you receive an audit back, what's the purpose or the reason for an audit that's been returned to you, first of all?
The purpose, and so I would say that the audit itself will have a lot more about the detail and the purpose and what it is and is not in the financial report. But in essence, they're looking at your books, making sure that it's accurate, making sure that you have made true financial statements as you've gone along. And so they're really, I mean, they're conducting an audit. They're really investigating what you've done to make sure that you have the proper controls in place, that your books are clean, and that they are true and accurate statements in them.
Thank you. The second question is there an additional charge from the state because of an audit?
There's not an additional charge in that, well, so there's a filing fee that's relatively minor. I think it was approximately $300, but it's an administrative fee associated with filing.
So the 28,000 or whatever it is, it's to do the audit. And the reason that you're doing the audit is because there was some mistakes or corrections?
No, it's required by every agency, but that's a good question. Every agencies like ours or municipal entities or school districts, they're all required to do them annually. And so there are different consequences that can come up. So for example, school districts don't get funding. I'm not sure I remember the name of the budgetary source that it comes through, but they don't get state funding if they don't complete the audit. For agencies like ours, if we go too long without it, then the Secretary of State can recommend dissolution of the agency.
Wow. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the audit process before we move on the motion at hand? Okay. We do have a motion made and second. Any other discussion from any board member before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of adoption of the resolution as previously stated, state aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, passed unanimously. Okay, next we have a presentation, Special Services Supervisor Julie Peterson. Yeah, you are up.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie Peterson. I am the Special Services Supervisor at CPRD. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and for caring about kids. some of the people I see in this room. I see some coaches, I see some past administrators, and I thank you for being here for kids. We do have a special guest here today. Her name is Lynn Patrick. Would you please stand up? Lynn was, when I first started at the district, she was my mentor. And she worked with Bonnie Benedict for years at the preschool and the kindergarten.
Correct.
They worked alongside each other, and then she eventually became the administrator of that program and worked here for a very long period of time. How many years?
I don't know, more than most.
Yeah, yeah. But I think she took she kind of kept Jim in line most of the time, right? Like that was her main job. But anyway, she's very important to CPRD. She really created the map for the child care programs, not only at CPRD, but in Newberg. So I really want to thank her for that. And she's a very special person and very special to us. So can we give her a hand? Okay. So Bonnie Benedict Preschool, the CPRD Pre-K program, and the Before and After School Care program are at the elementary schools are a few of the programs that I oversee for the district. And I want to explain a little bit. Clay and I talked about this previously, but I wanted to explain a little bit about the difference between basic service at CPRD and special services. So basic services are things, Brian is the basic service supervisor, and those are things that are paid for by property taxes, and they entail maintenance of our facilities, maintenance for our parks, trails, open spaces, those kinds of things. I believe it was Don Clements that did a great job dividing the district, because it was evident that property taxes didn't pay for everything. And so we needed another revenue source. And so that revenue source ended up being special services. And those are those are fee-based programs. Special service employees, we are basically in charge of implementing, developing, managing, organizing programs in the district. Most of those are fee-based programs. And they are, for instance, say you live in Newberg and you don't have any kids, but you have a young kid that plays soccer. The district did not want the person that doesn't have kids to have to pay for the soccer fee, basically. So Brian and I work really well together, but we need both special service and basic service to make CPRD work, right? Okay. Special services, what we need to do is we need to cover our costs, okay? And those costs include a lot of different things. They are program supplies, they're insurance for all of our programming. So it's very important that we cover our costs and that we make sure that our programs are sustainable, okay? In my tenure at CPRD, this is the hardest recommendation that I've had to face as a staff member. It's a very difficult recommendation to make to our patrons, our participants, our families, our board. It's not easy. For 55 years, Bonnie Benedict Preschool has been more than just a school in this community. It's been, a home for a lot of kids. It's been a place of belonging, and it's been a great educational resource. So I just think that it's really been important to this community. This recommendation was not made lightly, but rather an issue that we identified about 3 years ago. And for the past couple of years, especially after COVID, we've had some financial struggles with pre-K and with the preschool. And we've had some declining enrollment, and we've had some operational challenges that have made it difficult to sustain the program. We have explored every option We've tried to come up with a lot of solutions, and we kind of fought to find a way. And despite our best efforts, the numbers and the circumstances have led us to the recommendation to close Bonnie Benedict Preschool and the pre-K program. Richard, go ahead and start the slideshow. Oh, good. Okay, so here we have our cute kids here. Go ahead and go to slide number 2. Okay, this right here, I want to explain exactly, we have 3 care programs that are run by CPRD. And the first one is pre-K. The pre-K program is located right here in the community center, right? It's kind of across the street from the fire department. Pre-K is essentially daycare for kids ages 3 to 6. Their hours are 6:30 to 6 p.m. and it's a program that is available to families. You can drop off or pick up at any time. Grace works for us in our preschool program, but she works across in the other building. But I know that she takes some of her preschool kids through the back gate, basically, or the sliding glass door, over to the pre-K program. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. These are the rooms inside. We have our current enrollment, though, right now is 4 kids. Okay. Okay, Richard, go ahead. Next slide. Okay, our next slide is our before and after school child care program. We call it CARE. We have before and after school care in the 6 elementary schools in Newberg and Dundee. We serve the kindergarten to 5th grade population. Monday through Friday, we usually open at 6:30, and those kids are cared for by our leaders until 7:30, and then they're walked to class. And then after school, they go to the care classroom or the cafeteria. And that is an enrichment program. We do this, those leaders are responsible or just work with our kids on their homework. They have open play. Sometimes they play sports. They go outside. They do crafts. And they kind of become a little family. So that's our second program. So we have pre-K, and then we have our care program. And then Richard, go ahead. Okay. Before I go on to our Bonnie Benedict and show the picture of the preschool, I wanted to talk a little bit about the history and the legacy of Bonnie Benedict. So Antonio Crater and she was a board member, and I'm not going to be able to see this. I need my glasses. No, that's not good. I thought that would happen. I can't, I'm kind of cattywampus here. Okay. Antonio Crater was one of the founding board members at CPRD, and she strongly believed in the importance of education and kids. And so she asked, there was a gentleman by the name of Glenn Benedict, and his wife was Bonnie, and he asked her to run the first preschool and kindergarten in Newberg. And they started that class, or those 2 classes. They had 26 kids each in each class. And it was a success. The program really took off in the community, and they had a lot of support from the community. There were a lot of people that dropped things off, right? Mm-hmm. We got a lot of paper over there.
Paper.
Lots of paper. But there was just a lot of enthusiasm, and it was really neat to hear that we were the first organization to be able to offer that to our community. They added a 3-year-old class in 1968, and Bonnie led that preschool for 32 years. I think that's really, really neat. And she retired in 1998. The preschool has served many generations, and I know the current specialist that works in our program, she has kids of the kids, so it's really neat to see. I would like to also note we've had some really special educators and teachers that have worked for us. Lynn Patrick, of course, she worked in the preschool from 1993 to 2000 and
Well, 2001,
Yeah.
basically, and then
and then she became the administrator of the program and retired in 2018.
March,
Yep.
this month.
Yep. And then we also had Jan Kester. She was very important too. I have this great picture that I found today. I thought that was really neat of Lynn and Jan and Bonnie and the kids. So I thought that was wonderful. But she was a teacher. She served as a teacher from 1990 to 2020. And then Ann Ireton, she taught from 2014 to about 2020. Okay. And then Deanna Rice, she joined us as a preschool teacher in 2000, and she has been overseeing the program ever since. And and I also wanted, Grace is here today. I wanted to say too, she's also working in our Bonnie Benedict program. So thank you for coming today. That was really nice. I also wanted to add that, it's been a cornerstone of early childhood education in the community for over 55 years, and we appreciate it. We really do. All the teachers that have taught all the kids, very, very appreciated. Okay, so here's an overview of our current program at Bonnie Benedict. School, so the community center is to the right, and the preschool is the house to the left. We serve the preschool. The Bonnie Benedict preschool program serves kids that are 3 and 4 years old. And we have Deanna Rice right now, and we have one part-time employee, Grace. The threes class runs from takes place on Tuesday and Thursday, and from 8:30 to 11. It's $195 a month, $17.55 per year. Our fours class, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we have additional days, and then our times are a little bit bigger, 8:30 to 11:30. The tuition for the fours class is $230 a month, $2,070 per year. We offer payment plans, and we also offer scholarships as well. Okay. 2022 enrollment for the threes and the fours, we had 7 kids in the threes program, 12 in the fours program. In 2024, we had 7 in the threes and 12 in the fours. And then this year, we have 5 kids in the threes and 8 in the fours class. And what I wanted to mention about that is that the threes class right now, where we have the 5 kids, one of them is a child that the child of the grandchild of one of the workers. So we do not receive any payment for that child. And then we have had some non-payments. So in that threes class right now, in 1 month, we are now bringing in, just for the threes class, $198.88. And that's as a result of low enrollment and some people that maybe are not paying regularly, and that's a pretty low number to make, to be taking in revenue per month, $198. That's pretty rough for a threes class. So go ahead, Richard. Okay, so I created a slide here, reasons for closure. We have rising operational costs versus revenue. So in 2022, 2023, when you look at our revenue versus expenditures, we are bringing in $27,000 in that year, and our expenditures are $74,000. So we're in a deficit of about $47,000. 2023, 2024, we bring in $37,000, so a little bit more. And and then the expenditures, $78,000. We're in a deficit of $41,000. And then this year, we've brought so far this year so that you can see the revenue coming in, which is a little bit more than the preschool program. But our expenditures are about 28,000. So you total those together, and this year we're at 66,000, 697.61, and we still have, our year ends in June. So this is up until February. So we still have March, April, May, June. So we still have 4 months to go. Okay. And I wanted to also, oh, go ahead. That's okay. So with those expenses, a lot of it is personnel expense, and we are very lean. CPRD is known for being very, very lean. We do not have a lot of teachers there. There's basically one, right? You and Deanna, right? And those supplies would also include things like, we have utilities that are in there. We have supplies that the kids are using, those kinds of things. Okay, here is a graph here of basically what I just talked about. You can see that in 2022 we were in a deficit, obviously, and then 2023, 2024, and here we are in 2025, and the deficit is growing. Okay? Okay, so what we have identified is the reasons for the closure, or the reasons that maybe we are not successful, is we do have a declining enrollment. We do have non-payment of monthly tuition. That's really, we do put people on payment plans, and sometimes those aren't being paid. But I think the thing that's been affecting us the most is that there is a free preschool that is just right down the road from us. I think it's a really great program. I'm glad for them. But the Newberg School District has expanded its preschool offerings, and it's called the Tiger Cubs at Edwards Elementary. It is a full-day program. So our Bonnie Benedict program is just 3 to 3.5 hours. This is a full-day program offering free breakfast, free lunch, and all supplies included. And I've also included the Oregon, the expanded income guidelines. So for a family of 4, if you make under, $94,000, you are able to attend the preschool for free. So you have to be, within those income guidelines to be able to receive free preschool. And I will say that a lot of our CPRD employees are taking advantage of that. I did do a little bit of investigating. There are 12 registered preschools in the Newberg-Dundee area right now. They include private, faith-based, and I think there are 2 public programs, and I believe there's 1 preschool promise grant program. Okay? I think one of the issues also is that we have some aging facilities. This is basically the play area or the back court to the Bonnie Benedict house. And so they come out on the left-hand side there, they come out the building on the left, and then they walk across the courtyard if they're going to pre-K, and then where the teal covered curtains are, that is the pre-K building. So I know that when we give tours, or when Deanna gives tours for our preschool program, a lot of people have commented that this is not a very attractive place maybe for the kids to play. And I think there are some other preschools that maybe might have something a little bit better, but she's just mentioned that she thought that this might have a little something to do with it. Okay. Alternative funding considerations, cost recovery. We considered increasing enrollment and tuition fees. We've applied. We received a grant in 2021. It was an infrastructure grant. It was about $50,000. We used that to do quite a few things. There were some stipulations on what we could spend the money on and what we couldn't spend the money on, or what we could and what we couldn't. And so we did end up getting a grant in 2021. It didn't seem to help that much, but we did apply for a grant through the county. I believe that was last year, maybe, or you might know, yeah. And we weren't, we weren't fortunate enough to get that, but that is a revenue source that we would definitely tap into if it was available to us. Community partnerships were something that we looked at. We have a community partnership with the Newberg School District with our before and after school childcare program. So that was something that we had considered and thought of. But they are running their own program now. We looked at increased marketing at CPRD activities, sporting events, social media on the CPRD website. And then, finally, facility upgrades, capital improvements, because I do believe that is the main issue. We know that the impact of the closure is going to really affect our families, and that's been the hardest part, I think, in making this recommendation, and our teachers. And that's a very, very hard pill to swallow. Some of the staff, if they're interested, we would love to have them apply to the care department, so the before and after school child care at the elementary schools. If we'd love to have them apply, and we're hoping that we can find a home for them in our program there. Our facilities, I think Becky talked a little bit about the veterans, and as a district, special service and basic service, and Clay and our team, we need to talk about repurposing Bonnie Benedict preschool and pre-K, or finding another revenue stream for that building. What kind of new programming can we put in there that would maybe be more cost effective for us? And then I did want to note also that our before and after school age childcare is not affected by this closure at all. They are doing well in the elementary schools. Go ahead, Richard. I think this is it. Okay. And this is just, my recommendation is to fully recover. We would need to close a $67,000 gap, either by increasing tuition, securing outside funding, or significantly cutting costs. Given declining enrollment, aging facilities, and the availability of free preschool alternatives, the financial reality suggests that continued operation is not sustainable. I'd mentioned at the beginning, special services, we need to be sustainable. And for the 3 years, we've worked hard on it, not able to achieve our goal, which feels really bad to say, right? So we started the budget season. We started our budget season and started to fill out all of our budgets. Clay came on board there. I felt bad. One of the first conversations was, I think we have to potentially look at, closing down the preschool and the pre-K. I wanted to talk to him about it and have good discussions about that. I have talked to my team about it, the special services coordinators, specialists. We wanted to be intentional about communicating with Lynn and with Ann and with Jan. And we wanted to then inform staff so that they would have an opportunity to make some decisions for themselves. And then we wanted to inform our families, and so that because we have had people asking, a couple people asking, and we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to find something that works best for them and their families. So we wanted to get that word out, and I suppose some people have seen the Facebook post, that letter, somebody posted a letter, and that was unfortunate because that wasn't the way that we wanted to handle this, and we wanted to make sure that we were informing people that needed to know, and it turned out really badly. And so I wanted to actually apologize to the board for that, because it came out that it was a CPRD board decision, and it definitely was not. It was a special services decision. And then, so we had it on the agenda to discuss at this budget, or this board meeting, and then Clay and I were going to discuss it with our budget committee in April. We do have a community communication plan. We've been working with Kat, and we are going to initiate a press release maybe tomorrow, right? And we would like to do some outreach through our website, social media, to inform people of the decision. Go back, Richard. I got one more thing. There you go. Okay. I wanted to make sure Deanna Rice and Lynn are working on hosting an open house at Bonnie Benedict, so that our kids and our families can come back. We have some books if they want to take some books and just share some memories. They're going to be working together on that. And then I guess I would like to answer any questions that you might have about the closure, any concerns. You know, I'd be happy to answer any of those questions, or, you know, by email if you feel more comfortable. But I'd like to have open communication about that. So, any questions?
Is this a staff or is this a board decision?
So it's basically a staff decision.
Okay.
And but I do feel like it's important to let you know about it, and, you know, to make sure that you're okay with it, and to ask any questions that you might have about it, because it's a big step, and it's not anything that I've done, you know, since I've been at the district, and it's not something we feel great about, but we do want to make sure that you know about it, and people in the community are going to ask you about it, and so we want to make sure that you're informed, and you're more than welcome to send those people to me too. I'd be happy to have a conversation about
So
that.
I have a couple more questions.
Yes.
For you.
Uh-huh.
So what are the families that are currently there? What are their options? I mean, are they going to be going from paying $195 to $500? I mean.
Well, my guess is, I don't know. I think each family is different. I know that I've heard from some, like one family, I know they are very interested in public preschool. They are not interested in a faith-based preschool. I don't know if their earned income is, you know, if they could potentially attend the Newberg School District preschool. I'm not sure.
Okay, and then the other one is that you're showing like the condition of Bonnie Benedict.
Right.
And I know that since I've been on this board, we have given hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to the school district to improve their playgrounds.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of wondering why we never came here to ask if you could be spending money to make that playground a more inviting.
Real fast, Lisa, you're very quiet.
Oh, I didn't think so. That's first time.
Actually, can you tap on your mic? That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just wondering why we didn't come forward to try to see if we could have improved the facility earlier.
Yeah.
So that it maybe not have lost
Yeah.
some of the enrollment that you have.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the building is it's old.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things that you can do, and there's some things that you cannot do, I think. We put half a roof?
$104,000 last year.
Yeah. On a new roof in that facility. We used some of the grant that we received in 2021 to do some painting and some repairs. And there were some things, we could only spend so much of that grant on improvements to the facility. So there's a lot to be done there. I'm not quite sure that we would have the funds to get it to the point where it was maybe a competitive choice for other families. Lynn?
Let me answer a question about the playground. The playground was not actually a playground, it's a courtyard
Yeah.
where people would walk on. And so that you didn't have playground surfacing on the
Yeah.
whole thing. So people would either walk in or come in wheelchairs or whatever, and so you had to have a solid surface, which is not conducive to have a playground surface. So there was some problems with the area in general. we talked about over the years, taking up part of that surface, leaving a pathway for those that needed it, and it just didn't happen. But the preschool itself, the building that the preschool is in, was built in 1909.
Well, I guess my concern is that we stop the preschool and then we put something or someone else in there and then we spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve it for whoever new is coming in. And we just lost this opportunity to take care of kids within our community, which, up until recently, it has been a desert for daycare stuff. And so it really hurts my heart that it would be going away. And I would be really frustrated if all of a sudden we decided to put in a ton of money into something else.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the plan. We are in, we've received a lot of emails in the last week with people that are interested, in the preschool and the pre-K building, and we wanted to get this information out first so that families could make a decision, so that the community knew about it, so our teachers, could find different opportunities for themselves too. And so we've been talking about some things. It would be nice to get a revenue source, out of that. So to be quite honest, we really don't know what that looks like yet. We're trying to be respectful of, it's still there, and I would hate to say we're gonna do A, B, C, and D right now.
Well, no.
Because we want to be respectful of the, the families that are there. So,
So thank you for your presentation. The dollars and cents part was really based on kind of salary, wages, costs, supplies.
yeah,
I know just in the couple years I've been here, the roof was a big ticket item that we had discussed. We budgeted.
yeah,
There was delays. We finally got it done, over $100,000.
yeah.
My guess is if we're looking at other maintenance items to the building in the past 5 years, if those were added on to the profit loss statements, the numbers in the red would go much deeper, because if
Yeah.
just adding the roof, just that would take the prior year, was at 2024, I think.
Yeah.
That would be close to a $200,000 loss, and that's not counting the depreciation and the other
Yeah.
deferred maintenance that we're looking at. So
Yeah.
we're kind of in a trap where we're competing with free, right? And to compete with free, we're charging for a service where our facility is less than free.
Right. I mean, we would never receive the amount of revenue that we needed to be able to account for all those improvements.
Right.
You know
Well,
what
but
I'm
I
saying?
don't think that, personally, I think that there's two different things. You've got capital improvements and then you have operational improvements.
Yeah,
And if
right.
you're doing special services, that would be just the operational side. Because we put in a lot of money into a lot of the facilities that we have, and we're not counting that against the operations. So
Yeah.
I think there is a difference between the two. And operationally, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But
Right.
I just am wondering if we had put capital improvements into this property, that maybe it would be viable.
Right.
And it'd be really sad if we all of a sudden do that for somebody else when we're not gonna do it for our kids, is,
Right.
I think, my only point.
Right.
Okay, more board discussion.
So, 55 years ago, I understand, we started this program. And when I had a conversation with Don, and Don told me, our previous superintendent, he told me that at the time that we started this program, there was 7 other entities that also started this program. Out of those 7 other entities, we're the only one left. I'm very uncomfortable with the thought of getting rid of this program, even at a loss, okay? And there are other ideas which we didn't see on there, and it's something that I thought I emailed you guys on, and maybe you touched on it, and I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
But an idea that we could do, because one of the reasons why we're losing kids is because our building's dilapidated.
Right.
People don't think it's probably good enough for their children, and they're right. So I mean, it's usable, but it's dilapidated.
Right.
So, there are other options, and one of those options that I think we should consider doing is, I think we should go back and consider looking at purchasing the Dundee School building again. If we did that, we could have a daycare for lots of different age kids. We could also have a building in which we could help our veterans, all right? And there are programs right now, which I also sent you guys from the Business Oregon grant, in which they're gonna be giving out $15 million. The close off on that is gonna be April 30th, and then they're gonna give out another $25 million later on in the year. And they will give out of this very first group, somewhere between $20,000 and $2 million on capital purchases.
Yep.
So if I'm just talking out loud here, if we were to sell the Bonnie Benedict building and we buy the building that's right next to the park land that we already own, I mean, we could kill two birds with one stone. We could not let down our citizens. So, I think I'm not comfortable with not having a facility because, right now we've got daycare and schools. That happens when times are good. When times are bad and they don't have the funds, that stuff goes away.
Yeah.
What hasn't gone away in 55 years is CPRD's commitment to our young children. And I believe that this daycare and this preschool program, I think goes hand in hand with providing soccer and every other sport that we do. And I think it's something that we need to really look hard and fast at. Again, I'm not comfortable with getting rid of this program at all. So, and I have given you guys information on the grants, okay?
Yeah, we got, we have it. We received it.
And I've spoken to you in depth about what my ideas are as far as purchasing the Dundee school, which I understand is still available. So, anyway.
I doubt that anyone is comfortable with this decision. And so I have several questions. Is the community center there used for other activities besides the preschool programs?
Not now.
But it has.
Yeah, because see, they're in there Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 6. So it is hard to have other programming in there.
So if they weren't there, we could reprogram it, because I remember we used to have dance classes and so on because they liked the floor because it gave and.
Yeah, there's a, Grace could probably talk about it better than I can, but there's a, it looks like almost like they have ballet classes in there. There are lots of mirrors on one wall. There's a ballet bar.
We've had a lot of classes, and I knew Bonnie Benedict, and I knew Glenn Benedict, and I knew Crater, and I knew all those folks, and I knew what they wanted.
Yeah.
But how many kids right now are affected? How many kids in the program right now that would have to transition to somewhere else?
Yeah, so we have 5 in the 3s, 8 in the 4s, and then I think 4 in the pre-K right
So
now.
under 20.
Yeah.
So, and have you offered them opportunities to go to other places such as the preschool?
I haven't said, what do you mean offering them?
Or have you given them those alternatives that those are out there?
No.
Okay.
No.
That might be one step.
Grace, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, a lot of daycares in this area are completely full and they're not gonna be accepting anybody through the summer and not until next fall. I've been approached by a lot of our families seeing where I'm gonna go and if I would babysit their kids over the summer just out of my house because they have nowhere to go.
So how come ours isn't full?
The decaying building, a lot of people, the families that we have been able to see through it, because of the staff that we have. But it doesn't look great. I know that if I were touring it as a parent, I wouldn't want my son to go there because it doesn't look as good as the other options.
Okay, so I'll segue to that, because I have an intimate knowledge and understanding of those buildings. When you have it's just not an attractive space.
Right.
There's ADA issues with that space. And so even if we were to go in and remodel, we would have to bring everything up to current code.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it would be expensive.
Yep.
I don't have the cost top of my head, but it would be expensive. I wouldn't recommend that for the district in that small little house.
Right.
As far as the other building's concerned, it's got its issues too, but it can be reprogrammed. But I'm responsible to the taxpayers at looking at the budget and making sure that, that it's used as wisely as possible. And so I brought this up 2 years ago, or maybe further than that, and said, we need to look at this because we're losing money on this and why and what can we do? And so the staff knew about it, and I think they've done some things about it. Could they have done more? Possibly, but we're in that situation now. We're losing $60,000 a year on a program, and we need to look at that from a taxpayer standpoint. We also need to be able to segue these kids into other programs if we can. But I would not be in favor of leaving it in that building because of the way the building is. And I also personally wouldn't be in favor of remodeling such a small space. I'd look at one of our other spaces in the district, i.e. the Armory, or something like that, to maybe move a preschool program too, but I just would not look at that house. Now, the bigger building, that's a different story. We could look at that in another way, but that little house where they're kept, I shouldn't say kept, where they
Yeah, whoa.
where they participate, well, in kind of way, it is kind of kept there, where they participate. I as a parent would be very concerned about having my child, not that it's not clean,
Right.
not that doesn't have a good staff,
Right.
but the aesthetics and the whole bit, you can't use the upstairs. The
Right.
stairs are about this big going upstairs.
Yeah.
And Lynn knows exactly.
Oh, I do.
Hey,
what I'm
Lynn.
talking about.
Hey, Lynn, really quickly, can you tell the story about the guy that was taking a bath?
We've had over the years, and in many our buildings, and I hate to say that it's happened even in our pre-K building as well as our preschool building, people that will break in looking for a place to sleep. And there was a gentleman many years ago that we do have a bathtub in the little bathroom that the teachers use in the preschool, and we use that to let paint dry. Okay, so we have a screen across that, in fact, 2 screens, so we can put the kids' papers there and have it dry and whatever. We kept seeing stuff not where it should be, and discovered that a gentleman was using our bathroom and our bathtub and sleeping upstairs. So.
Anyway,
That's 10 years
with
ago.
that said, because as you walk in and tour that and you see the bathtub and there's a wire mesh over it, you ask yourself, okay, what's going on? But anyway, being on the board and being asked to be on this board is to look at our financial situation and make sure that we're spending our money appropriately. And in that situation, I don't think we are at this point. And I think that we need to be able to provide those folks with other avenues of other places to go. I don't disagree with what Jason said to a point, but looking to buy a $3.5 million building, as in the Dundee school, we don't have that as a budgeted item in our budget. If a grant comes through, great. But then again, we have to maintain that building too, and what are those costs are gonna be for something that square footage? So really, I mean, I would ask the staff to start looking for other alternatives for these folks, but the building is really old. Older than any of us in here times 2
Yeah.
or 3. And so we need to look at that,
Well, the
and be
Fords,
concerned about that.
the 8 kids that are in the Fords class, they will go to kindergarten next year. So we're talking about the 5 that are in the 3s class, right? So,
If that building was up to code, you think you'd have a lot more kids in it?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of we don't have the kids.
there's a preschool in the cultural center, and they're full.
And I do have to share with you that the Cultural Center went through many facets. One of the facets was the Family Resource Center, which meant all our nonprofits and stuff would go into the building. But once we looked at what the cost would be, most of the nonprofits said, we can't afford to do that. Because we were gonna put a preschool in there, exactly where the private preschool is in now in that building. just for your historical information.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Jim. Is the armory, I mean, I assume that the armory is a lot more up to code, but as far as the attractiveness, or maybe it's to you, would the armory be a viable
Armory
alternative?
classrooms?
Maybe, but they're not pretty.
They're not pretty
Yeah,
either.
And the armory, the armory too.
The armory would, in my opinion, the armory classrooms would be a lot easier to work with than a house that is about as big as this room right here
Yeah.
to house children.
So
And we have other programs in the armories, we have rentals in the
I was gonna
armories, we
say
have all
that.
those type of things, so you need to think about that too.
So we have gymnastics equipment in there. It's quite large. And
What
so
about
ev-
the building that's behind the armory, the alternative building?
Yeah. So that is being rented out by a church.
But that doesn't mean it has to stay that way.
True.
But
And
that
that's an
building-
alternative, so I think that there's some alternatives.
Right.
If we want to continue, but again, my look is at the budget and seeing where our numbers are.
Yeah.
Those numbers would have to come up. Not only would those numbers have to come up, but we're gonna have to put money in our budget to improve wherever we're gonna go, whether it be the youth building that they're renting, whether it be the armory building, or where they're at now. We're talking, just depending on the building, quite a bit of money.
Are we talking about shutting it down now, or are we talking about at the end of the school year?
End of the school year.
Okay.
And, I mean, we made that decision because we have budgets that are due in, so we didn't know if we should create a budget for that. But also, we wanted to, we have, like, those 5 kids, we were wondering if they wanted summer pre-K care. And so we didn't want to have that available to them if we weren't gonna be running the program at all.
And I want to add that some of this, and part of the reason that we thought it was good to talk to the board, is because the operations of special services is typically 100% cost recovery, and we're not meeting that. So from a policy standpoint, which is where we're asking the board to be involved, how important is it that we're not 100% cost recovery? How far off is it okay to be?
But are
Because
we
that gets-
off because we don't have the kids because the facility is not in good shape? And
I
then
would
what
say
are we
that-
gonna do with the facility, right?
Well,
I mean,
one of the
put
things,
money
if we
into
were to be able to upgrade that or any other facility in a substantial way, the facility that we would, in theory, work with, so we are planning on submitting a grant application for major renovation or new construction under the child care infrastructure grant program that's available from Business Oregon. So that is a plan that we're planning on doing. We think we have former one that we can pull forward and build on and keep that relatively tight. However, even if we do that, in the short term, if we did that for, say, the Bonnie Benedict site in some capacity, so that we could use it in the future and not have it be the challenge that it is right now as a facility, and do all of that outside of our taxpayer resources, do that with other resources, and do a major and substantial transformational upgrade, we would have to either close the program during that time, or because the facility needs so much care, or we would have to find an alternative.
Right.
And I certainly don't have enough familiarity with our programs to know what those are, or if we really have those available.
Right.
Additionally, I would say that something like Dundee Elementary School's older school, that might be interesting. We are not prepared from that from a capital standpoint right now. We have a lot of other things on our capital improvement planning looking forward. If you look at the 5 years from our last adopted budget, that's not on there.
It seems like we're agreed that the current location is cost prohibitive. Is that fair?
Unless we use someone else's money, it's definitely cost prohibitive.
How often do you sell properties like this? When they're condemned or they're not useful anymore? There's some value to, I imagine, property. Is that something that you would consider to perhaps put it into the armory, the money into the armory to make it improved, or?
There is
Is that the question?
there are two, so I don't have a concise answer to that. Some others that have been here longer can probably give you some idea of how often we sell property. But one, I would say it's centralized. So from a childcare standpoint, I think that's probably highly valuable. So getting rid of that property seems like it wouldn't necessarily be ideal. I'll be honest, it's one of the ideas that or one of the issues that I see as a potential challenge for doing daycare, if we were to move it to Dundee, you're moving daycare to an area that's a smaller community as opposed to keeping it a more larger centralized facility. Doesn't mean it's not a good idea, it just means it's got its challenges. For something like this, it's kind of, the location seems excellent for people being able to get there, although being in a downtown area probably has its own challenges, like individuals trying to use your facilities after hours. But I don't think we often do, because often once you lose the land, you can't get it back, because those costs just keep going up on property.
Yeah.
So I think that I would suggest that we be very cautious before considering permanently letting go of property like this. Although if we have a landing spot of another site where we could host the programs that are currently hosted there, that becomes a very different conversation.
Because I'm thinking about what Becky said about using it as a veterans facility, but that would require ADA compliance and the whole works. Would that be our problem, or would that be their problem? That would be your problem. Okay.
Well, not to get too far off track, we're not going to solve all these issues tonight, but I think, thank you, staff, for providing the information.
Yeah.
We know kind of the pickle we're in, and then if we have, as a board, if we're pursuing grants, the staff, if the board has issues that they want, we can bring this back, this topic of daycare, childcare, pre-K, and we can have these discussions. And I'm sure staff, I mean, you're hearing what these thoughts are. So
Right.
if other options are available, pursue them, bring them to us, and then board members, if we have something specific, let's put it on the agenda, let's prepare, and let's keep the discussion going. So if there's nothing else specific on this, I think we move on. I'll let you
Do we
go
have
and
any
those
public
are-
comments that weren't addressed yet?
There was a couple in writing. I think you shared one. There's another one in here from community business. I don't have it in front of me, but I think they recommended or said that they would like to lease the space for daycare services specific to kids with disabilities or something like that. So there are folks in the community that I think probably would be willing to, in the private sector, lease from us, and then, obviously they'd have to make improvements to the building, and that could be something that we could negotiate. So I think there's a lot of good options. This issue isn't dead. This is just a step that needs to be taken to get to the next piece. So if there's anything else I missed in the written comments, or if anyone else has something before we move on, we can. Oh, yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Grace Tassevegan Salazar. I'm a preschool teacher at Bonnie Benedict Preschool. And I'm currently earning my degree in early childhood education. So this is where I'm staying. No matter what happens to Bonnie Benedict, I'm gonna be in early childhood. The first thing they tell you when you're becoming an educator is the first 3 to 5 years of a child's life are the most important for development. Preschool specifically sets up a child's academic success for the rest of their lives. It has been my job for the last 2 years to create a space for children to feel safe and comfortable to explore, learn, and grow at Bonnie Benedict. Bonnie Benedict Preschool has been around for much longer than I have. 60 years is a very long time to impact a community. I unfortunately never had the chance to meet Bonnie, and every day I walk in the door, I see her vision and what she has set out to do by creating this program. I also see the potential that it has to grow and change with the children that come through that very same door. Something else they tell you when becoming an educator is that this job never stops changing. And it should never, as it limits its impact. And this has been my first year teaching as the main teacher, So I'm coming in with bright eyes and bushy tail, and I see what needs to change, what could change, and will change if you guys give us the chance. If this program is going to go down, I want to give it a fighting chance. I want it to have the opportunity to change instead of sitting like a time capsule. Our community is growing every day, and all the daycares in the area are full or close to it, which impacts many families that are here or coming in. Closing our doors would be a huge disservice to those families. This year's class numbers are low, but just last year, I had to make calls on the wait list. Updating the building and getting our name out into the community more will boost these numbers. And all I'm asking you to do is consider a chance for the change. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion or public comment? Make sure I'm not missing anyone.
You know, I want to say one more thing here. So I know we talk about making sure that our facilities are solvent and that they are making money, or they're at least breaking even. I understand that, but I also understand that we have families that need assistance. And, you know, again, I just want to say that we are a service-oriented organization, thank you. And you know, I will tell you, you know, a lot of parents have to decide whether they're going to go to work or whether they're going to stay home and take care of their kids. And you know what? That's a tough choice to make. I think that moms are always better off when they're with their kids, but that doesn't make ends meet, you know? So I just think that it's a decision that we have to think really hard about before we decide that we're going to just simply close this thing down.
Can I say something? I have a little girl who's gonna be 3 in June, and we were dead set on Bonnie Benedict, regardless of the looks. We've been forced to tour other preschools and looking now at $300, $400 tuition costs for 2 days a week, and they are full. So we were so dead set on Bonnie Benedict, and we saw the Facebook post that the letter got released. I don't know how many people have read the comments and how many people have said they were dead set on Bonnie Benedict. It's a lot. It is a lot probably to create a wait list. Like I said, we were not about the looks of the building. I went to Bonnie Benedict Preschool. I actually worked for the CARE program during the COVID year when it was open 6:30 to 6. It's an important program.
I'll tell you what you can do. You can contact all those people that want their kids in this thing, all right? And let's get a waiting list at Bonnie Benedict and make it to where we don't have to close this thing down. If we could do that, I mean, the problem is it's still a dilapidated building.
Yeah.
It still needs a lot of help. So, thank you for your comments.
I do have one question. What's the number that you would have to get to make it solvent? How many kids?
What do you think, Julie?
That's a really good question. So back in the day,
Mike.
There were what?
Julie, come up to the mic, please.
Yeah, go, Mike. You're not as loud as I am.
In pre-K, I would say even like 5 years ago, how many kids did you have in pre-K?
We couldn't operate with less than 12 in pre-K, and that was really hard.
Yeah.
So that was, and honestly, over the years, we have had good years where we had to turn people away. We did have wait lists over the years. COVID hurt us too, just like it hurt everybody else. That's a part of this, and we've not recovered. But we used to have a certain number of children in our 3-year-old class. We also had to have 2 teachers in our 3-year-old class.
Right.
What staff has done in this situation is bring it down to 1 teacher and a smaller class size so that you have still a class. To do it right, there should be 2 teachers. And there should be 12 students in the 3-year-old class.
Yeah. Yep.
And there should be 20 in the 4-year-old class.
Yeah.
With 2 teachers. That's the legal piece. And that's what we want to be.
And are we doing anything have we done anything in the last year or two where we've sent out mailers letting parents know that this is an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, there've been things that have gone out. We've had Deanna Rice has gone out to all of our activities. We've been involved in fairs, George Fox fairs. I think we've thrown everything at it.
We've always gone to the schools
Yeah.
and delivered that information to the schools as well, so that they have, if they have younger children, they know that we have this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not something we've ever, I mean, we've walked the pavement 50-something years.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
And like I said, I think a really big factor is the free preschool at the school district. It's a big factor.
Is there an age limit on that? They have to be 4?
They do have to be 4. Yep, they have to be
So
4.
it takes away from the kids who are gonna be 3.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much. This is, obviously will be a discussion we will continue to have as a board. Okay, next item is appoint 2 Trails Committee members to the vacancies. The Trails Committee had a couple resignations, and they're very eager to get more people on the committee. Been doing a lot of work. We've been getting out on the trails with staff, going over signs. Obviously, this new information regarding donation for footing, I'm sure, is going to be another item. Work days are being planned, so the Trails Committee is very eager to fill the 2 vacancies that have been created. And it sounds like the few of the prior applicants, Kat, you contacted them and they were all interested in still
That's
serving?
right. There are 4 and they're all available and willing to serve.
Okay.
Are any of them here?
Are any of the applicants here tonight? No. Okay. So that's the background. Any discussion from the board on the applicants?
Do you know any of these people?
Do I know? I think I know a couple of them, and then the rest of the information is just what's in their applications, so.
I know Alan Holstein was on the committee before. He wasn't reelected to the committee. This fellow named John Reuter, I don't know him personally, but he's contacted me a few times on trails. He's really interested.
I believe he's come to a meeting or 2.
Yeah, I think he's out of Dundee, and I don't know if we have anyone representing the Dundee area on this committee. So I think it's important that we look at geographics
Mhm.
a little bit, so. You know.
I would agree with that sentiment. The other name that stood out to me was Anna Denise, based on the information in her application. Whoa, chair's about to go nuts on me. And so, yeah, John's application also stood out to me. So those were the 2 that stood out the most to me. Any other?
Can
Any
you
other
appoint
thoughts?
all 4 of them?
We are trying to keep the committees in that 5 to 7, and so this would bring the Trails Committee to the full 7 folks. So.
Motion to appoint Anna Denise and John Reuter.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh.
The motion was made to appoint Anna Denise and John Reuter by Gail, and seconded by Jason.
Thank you.
Any discussion regarding the 2 applicants? Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor of appointing Anna Denise and John Reuter to the Trails Committee, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did we have,
We had 4 ayes and then 1 nay.
and the nay is from, please?
Lisa.
I need the name, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Bob, you were up with the discussion also regarding a resignation on the Golf Committee. Is this something that you wanted to discuss in your clubhouse committee update, or just specifically to a potential
I want
appointment?
to clarify, that wasn't, I'm not resigning.
Yeah,
So indicated.
yeah,
That was not me,
right.
or up for discussion. So
Yeah.
it was Jeff Dillon is the one that took
Mike.
resignation in. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you want to go to the
Yeah,
mic,
go.
if you have,
You want me to continue?
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Kat? Kat, did you find anybody that would
Turn,
agree?
make sure
Red
your light is
Thank you.
orange there.
Did
Yeah.
did you find anybody that agreed to be part of our committee?
I've not been directed to search.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, still an ongoing thing. So you want me to continue on with what I was going to
So,
talk about?
well,
or-
with respect to the resignation, can you tell us what, because you're on the agenda, so tell us
Sure.
what you got for us.
He decided that he cannot do this along with the other obligations that he has in life,
Okay,
with kids and 2 jobs, and so he just graciously resigned.
okay, has the golf committee made a decision that they want to fill that vacancy?
No, we haven't had time to chat. It'll be on the 12th of
Okay,
April when we make that decision.
okay.
Unless
So
we-
if the committee wants to fill that position, you can come back to us at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
And the options would be if there's a pool of people who had applied previously, or if you would like to open it up for new applications.
Yeah.
That would be kind of the committee can recommend one or the other of those, and then the board will decide.
Okay. And the staff has those names. We don't. I don't have any other
Mhm.
names.
Yep.
So that'll be up to the staff to get that information to us.
Okay,
All right?
okay, gotcha. Okay. Let's see here. We're gonna move board comments to after staff reports here. So sorry for the late change, but that'll be 10B, we'll call it. So moving into business. While you're up, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Golf Clubhouse Committee report.
Yeah, I'm Bob Travers, again, in the Greens, and I belong to I'm a co-chair of the Clubhouse Committee. And so this is just an update for Clay and the rest of you to where we are and what's going to happen from now until the 12th. We have some information that has been acquired for the last, almost a year now. We're gathering this information, collecting it, and now putting it into a report. And we're also going to have an executive report or a summary that's going to be in the front of this. And that will allow anybody that's on the committee to give their shared opinion of what they learned and the various things. I think that would be very helpful for everybody to know who these people are. Matter of fact, just to brief everyone, we have had really good responses to the people that are wanting to be part of this committee, including the engineers, the entrepreneurs that are part of it, the community people that belong into the large, the public entities that, like Rotary and Kiwanis. They are also involved in this, hotel developers, etc. That's a good source of information to gather and provide for you guys to make the final and right decision. The clubhouse, to all of us, and including the golfers, is a very, very important thing when it comes to a community like this. It's not only just for golfers, a nice clubhouse, but it will also be for the citizens of this district, that they can go and enjoy it and have a restaurant, maybe have some games that will be played there as well. And it's basically, bottom line is it's a revenue generator. And I don't know how many other things that are in this district that are generating revenue, but if this was built properly, this would be probably the number one generator of funds that you would have in this, except for taxation and those other things. So that's what we're doing. We're gathering it, we're putting it together, and we're going to submit it hopefully right after the 12th of April. Any questions?
Okay, so next board meeting in April. You guys are coming with it, okay. So kind of a business plan and what the overall thoughts of the committee are?
Speaking of the feasibility study, I
Okay.
want to address that if you don't mind.
Okay.
That's requested numerous times to make sure that it's in the budget. And I'm told that it is now. It's a line item that has been, thank goodness it was been provided to do a feasibility study and a business plan. And that will basically tell us what the cost is, the advantages and disadvantages that you would have as far as the structure and the building itself. Then the business plan is a business plan. It's always going to be numbers and volume, et cetera, you'll get from that. Business plan basically is $150,000 along with the feasibility study. It's a combined, we've talked about this before. And we already have that, as a line item from the golf course itself, surcharge that they've been doing. I don't think I'm telling you anything new, so I can't see of anything. I'm not going to take any more of your time than what I had addressed, but any questions?
Thanks for all your hard work, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure, believe me, as long as I get positive response, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a pickleball committee?
Hi there, Nick Conan, Chair of the Pickleball Committee. Our next meeting is on Monday, and the main goal of that meeting is to be planning and working towards a informational session for the public later in the month or maybe into May. So if any public or anyone else other than our current liaisons want to come to that, that's at 6 p.m. on Monday, and we're going to be just planning sort of this informational listening session we hope to present to the public sometime in the next couple months.
And that's presenting the new structure that's going to be built and all that.
Correct, yeah. And I should clarify, I think the presenting of that will hopefully leave to the professionals, and the advisory committee will be more volunteering, getting the space, working with Kat to get it communicated to the public. And
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, do we have a Trails Committee update? We do, okay.
Dana Kemp from the Trails Committee. We've been spending our time, several field trips at the Riley Park, and really working on signage mapping with Brian's assistance, so that we can have that side, the east side of the park mapped, so that people aren't getting lost up there. So it's clearly something people can use. We're still in the process. We haven't finished that. We also started to talk about a memorial bench program that, especially because we want to provide a bench for Russ in memory of Russ up there. So one of our members had found a program from the city of Westland that has a bench program that's, it would be no cost to the district. So we're looking into that more. And then really working on organizing volunteer recruitment for park cleanup days for all the parks within the district. And our next meeting is the 15th of April.
Okay.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've only been lost up there like twice, so. It's okay.
Well, we're trying to prevent that, so families don't get lost with their children up there.
Yeah,
All right, thank
Good
you.
work. Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report and project updates.
All right. So, got too many pieces of paper going on here. There we go. So, one of the things is I'm trying to keep the superintendent updates short, so that was the point of including the memo in your packet. So, basically, you all have received everything related to the audit, so there's really no other items there. The budget items, we are trying to just pull some of those. So we obviously had the preschool and pre-K discussion, giving us a lot to think about. So we'll be talking about that internally, about how to proceed and what we'll be doing. Although one thing I would say on that is we are planning to apply for the grant. And so we will be applying for grant funding and seeing if we can get major renovation funds associated with the site that we do have. But we'll see what else is going to be appropriate based on the discussion. And then the golf course clubhouse is noted in there as the feasibility study being part of one of the budget line items. Some of the other things we have coming up here are mostly from Gary Barth, who wasn't able to attend for today. He also let us know that he's trying to prepare exiting from the project manager role. So he's going to continue being available for the next month, maybe 2 months, but he's got some vacation coming up that's going to interrupt some of his availability. But we do want to keep forward momentum, so we're going to be working with SDAO and also working with the COG to look at some other project management services to continue into the year.
Is that something that we'd see in our budget potentially for staffing, or is that something?
That is something that we would see budgeted.
Okay.
And most of the other items on there are capital items. Some ones that I would mention is Sander Estate went to Dundee City Council. We got an approval there, so that was really fantastic. And we had lots of support at the meeting. So that was lovely.
We had roaring applause.
Roaring applause, so that was great. We had a couple of board members there, so thank you for those of you that came. And we also are moving into the type 1 application so we can get to construction. So we're continuing to move along. We've already met with the Dundee City manager since that meeting to continue getting some of our ducks in a row. So we know that Sander Estate is important and it's a priority, so we're trying to make sure that gets mobilized. Jakewith Park is moving along, so what is the last update we have on Jakewith? The public comment closed, but we're waiting on the staff report. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's still in review with the city and land use, but it's finished the public comment period, and so we're hoping they'll turn it around before too long. And so we're really just waiting, but it's been deemed complete. It's went through public comment, went through agency review. They're required to get it done within 60 days or less of once it's deemed complete. Some of the other items that I wanted to mention, the legislative update piece related to recreational immunity. So that's one that we haven't been out advocating and doing anything specific for, but SDAO has. And since we're a member, I wanted to bring that up. So the language that I put in the memo is largely lifted from what they've been sharing with us most recently. So that's one, though, that does have specific impacts on our properties. And then some of the last ones that I put in there related to the cultural center and Taste Newberg and the Camellia activities. So one, we have been meeting and talking to the cultural center, so we're continuing to meet with them and coordinate. So we're speaking with them on an active basis to make sure that we can get things going and just improve communication between us here at the district and them and what's going on. Then one of the things I wanted to mention is that Taste Newberg invited us to be an ex officio staffer, be an ex officio on their board, similar to how we are with the chamber. And so we've accepted that, and Julie is going to be representing the district going over there. Although, Julie, frankly, if they start occupying too much of their time, you should say so. But one of those was a recognition of all the visitation activities associated with CPRD largely through things like sports and all their other organized events. But we do have a large impact on tourism and visitation in the area.
We also house their operation.
And we happen to have some of their both Taste Newberg staff and NDC staff in the Yellow House off Blaine Street. So, and then the other ones, I just wanted to put a plug in for some of the activities coming up with the 5K run walk for Camellia, the Camellia 5K run walk, and the other events going on there. So that includes the Bloom Show that's going to be going on inside of the Cultural Center, and Tyco is going to have a drumming event that's going to be going on the same time, and that's all going to be going on April 12th. So that's what we've got. And so that's all I've got for my update today, unless anyone has any specific questions.
Any questions?
Would it help to have the board send a letter concerning the immunity law with the systems with the, that's on the books right now with legislature, that you were talking about earlier?
With recreational immunity?
Right.
We could if we think that we need to go there. SDA, like I said, is kind of advocating on our behalf. But if we think locally that's something that's important to the board and the board wants to put out a letter of support, we could draft it and bring it back and have you send it, and we could then send it to the legislature or something like that. I don't know if this board normally does that, frankly.
Yeah, we have.
We have.
in the
Okay.
past. But I would recommend that we do that. I think it's real important that, so if you could do, I don't know how the rest of the board.
We,
I think it's a good idea.
if you all would like to do something on that, you could just give direction here. We could have the chair and myself sign it, and then we could send it over or something like that, if that's direction you want to do this evening.
So moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So moved
Yeah.
indeed. Okay.
Unanimous on
So that was a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second on allowing or directing staff to develop a letter for legislative concern regarding recreational immunity. All those in favor, said motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that was unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, staff reports. I think we have a new guy here. So, sorry, you're gonna have to tell us your whole story, and your name looks kind of familiar too, so you're gonna have to explain that.
But you gotta come up
But you
to
have
the
to
mic.
jump up on the mic.
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, we like new guys, so,
New
Which of
guy,
us?
but been around for a while. Grew up here.
They normally start out with a song.
What do you want to hear name? Max Siderius. I just accepted a job for the golf course maintenance coordinator in December, and we've been going hard since. Yeah, good to be back in town and be around people I know.
Yeah, I talked to your dad yesterday.
Did you?
Not about
talk to
you.
him more than I do.
But, you know, I've heard good things. You've taken the bull by the horns, and you've helped Casey get a little more sleep than he used to get. So thank you for that, and thank you for what you're doing out there. That golf course is beautiful, and I appreciate you folks keeping it up and making it that way. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
And Max was in preschool.
I was.
I was his teacher.
Max has been around for a while.
Been making impressions since I was 4 years old.
There you were. Well, welcome aboard.
yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
And thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we got Brian over there. Anything to point out as we come into spring?
Thank you. Brian Stewart, Basic Service Supervisor. Some of the updates right now. Pretty exciting news today. We fired up Air Max System number 1 in conjunction with Johnson Barrow as a U.S. representative for Air Mac now. We shut down the boiler, and so it's running independently right now. And that's been something we've been waiting for quite a few years. So we'll see how that goes, and fingers crossed.
Question. On
Let me
that,
finish my report and I'll take questions.
yeah, okay.
Thank
No
you.
worries.
I'm
That's
much of a
so
public
important to me,
speaker,
that's
but
why I
I
interrupted, sorry.
appreciate that, Mr. McMaster. That's one update there. Senior Center, kind of exciting, the grant that Julie's staff acquired. We put in a new sinks and shelving today, and that's looking really spiffy too. Ball field preps, that's really rocking and rolling, and starting to do all that. And she's anxious to get the programming started out there. And Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate with that, but we have to trudge on no matter what. Friends Park, a lot of exciting stuff still happening out there with the site prep and cleanup that's going on. Neighborhood is absolutely thrilled with the board's decision to purchase that extra property out there. And that's going to be a wonderful addition for the community for sure. And along that line, we're working closely with Yamhill Soil, Water, and Conservation District. And they're actually partnering with us and not using us, but working with our community, and they're writing an OWEB grant for Friends Park as well as Jakewith Park. And that could be upwards of $100,000. and quite a few plants. And that contains over 46,000 trees and shrubs just for Friends Park, and another 900 shrubs and 150 trees for Jacobwood. And it entails pulling ivy, doing all the stuff you need to do, and planting, getting rid of the invasives, getting rid of the Reed canary grass down there, doing all the cool stuff that you need to do to mitigate those kind of things, and planting and restoration. So that's really exciting to partner with the county groups. We're also involved with Riverfront Reimagine, and that is with Travel Oregon. And Taste of Newberg taking the lead there, and with your direction, I'm one of the steering committee members on that. There's a couple properties that, what you're looking for is open spaces and river trails and trail access. And obviously, we had the paddle launch at one time. That is still a property that is high on the list that would be advantageous, and maybe we could revisit that as one of the sites they would look at. And then the Heritage Campground is a good possibility too. And then they're also working with the county at Rogers Landing and the dump site, the old dump site, and the Baker Rock property adjacent to that. So those are like the three areas that they are focusing on. There is an open house that they'll be doing on April 23rd, and I'll be sending that link to the board. There's one in the morning, and then there's one in the afternoon. The morning session on April 23rd is 9 to 11 at the Cultural Center, and then the afternoon one is 5 to 7, at Stoller Wine Bar. There's Nosh and Get Together, but there'll be a whole presentation. So please attend that if possible. Yeah, and then progressing work with the different groups. Very excited to work with the Trails Committee. It's a fabulous group of people, and that was a very cool gesture that you guys brought today. So excited to pursue that and see what we can do with that. Other than that, I apologize, Jim. I'm ready for questions.
Well, you know that those units on the roof for the last 5 years have been on my mind. No, the last 8 years have been on my mind. That's why I jumped. So we have a new contractor to handle those AirMac units?
They are the new representative in the United States for AirMac. So we're working directly with them. A lot of steps have taken to get them here.
Okay, but we're not paying for that service, or we are?
We are paying for that service.
Okay.
We want those AirMacs up and running.
I do too.
Yeah.
So you have one running full bore then, is that right?
As of 4 hours ago.
So we don't have a direct, we'll need to talk about payment on that later, but, and the other thing on Friends Park, are you doing both sides of Friends Park?
Yes, sir.
Good. Awesome.
And all three sides, actually.
Yeah, that's true. It's good, that's good. That's a lot of blackberries.
There's a lot of opportunity there, and that could really expand and add a lot of square footage to what the public can enjoy in that area. And the same thing at Jacobwood Park with the development of the pickleball area. We are going to reforest some of the area there that is around that old well area and stuff like that. But then all along Hess Creek there that runs through there, and a lot of good stuff happening.
So a little bit of background, you guys were talking about the boiler at the Aquatic Center, I'm assuming.
Correct.
All right, just so everyone knows what the heck was being talked about. And then April 26th, I believe, that's the date for the
Yes.
Arbor Day event at
Community event
Friends
at
Park.
Friends Park.
Yeah. Anything else to announce about that other than?
Working directly with the different groups that are
Yeah.
involved in that, and and I encourage everybody to come.
Yeah.
We're going a different route, but there would definitely be, there'll be 2 shifts, and there's going to be over, just in the groups all involved right now, over 100 volunteers.
Awesome.
There'll be no shortage, but with YSWCD's involvement too, there'll be plenty of work we can do too with the planting material.
Great. Okay.
All right, thanks
Cool.
for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Julie, since you talk so much, you only have like a couple minutes.
Oh my gosh, budgets, you know, it's that time of year, and it's been actually, it's gone really well, so we're excited about that. I just wanted to mention a couple things. In the recreation department, we had our father-daughter dance. That was great. We had a record number I see you guys. I saw you guys there. We have some Easter egg hunts coming up at Jakewith, Saturday, April 19th. We have ballet classes going after school now at some of the elementary schools. We started some new choir classes. Let's see what else. In our sports department, we have track. We're getting track started. Soccer, lacrosse, the cam run is coming April 12th. We have adult league basketball starting. We have softball out at the fields. Brian and his crew are just killing it out there. He also did a fantastic job on the CV football field. So he really, you guys did a lot of work out there. Thank you for doing that. Looks really good. We have bowls out there, you know. Yeah. Unfortunately, now they've kind of popped up on the softball fields a little bit. So, trying to go with that. You know, baseball, if you drive out by the ball fields, they're busy right now. We have the Newberg baseball program. They're using our fields too, so it's hopping. The senior center, I forgot, it's in my car, but we received a grant donation from the Oregon Department of Health Services, and we received 117 these big red backpacks that are go bags for our seniors on the Meals on Wheels program, and it's really neat. So our drivers are going to be taking those out to our Meals on Wheels people. Let's see, markets are going to be starting up soon. Wednesday market, child care program for care, before and after school care. We think we're going to be at Crater this year, and so last year I think we had about 125 kids, and we are accepting 5-year-olds.
You're talking summer.
Did I say summer? Yes, in the summer we're going to be, we're preparing for that. We're opening registration April 1st for that, and we, like I said, we expect about 125 kids, and we are accepting 5-year-olds for that activity. Aquatic center, we've added adult volleyball. That's new for us. They haven't been. We've hosted them in years past with a whole new group. We've had a lot of private rentals there. We've had some Lynn Patrick meeting room rentals over there. We hosted the Three River District meets 2 weeks ago. And the new weight equipment has arrived, so thank you for approving that purchase. It looks great in there. And the golf course, I think Kellen's online, but he had a commitment tonight, but it's packed out there. And it's really fun to see all the high school kids. So Newberg, obviously Newberg, with the boys and girls golf team, the George Fox men and women's team, and then the Sherwood golf teams are all using our facility out there. So we're busy. Good busy though. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
We didn't mention anything about the
Did I hear an update on the bypass trail?
just that it's in land use right now. So it'll get posted next week, early next week, and we'll hear back from the city on comments that we've received. I'm sure.
Okay.
But it's moving along. Everyone's kind of ready to go.
Okay, and it's just city land use in this section that
Yes,
we're
it's just
Yep,
city.
dealing
just
with?
city.
Okay. Well, we did move board comments to this section, so I'll start with Jim. You always
Kellen
got
wants to
something
talk.
good. Oh, Kellen, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Okay.
You must
we
be
can
the
hear
golf guy.
Wow.
Not much to say, but I'll say a couple things. First out, just a shout out to Max being new and his crew, getting the aeration project done. That was a huge one. We only close a few days of the year, but they did a great job getting the job done. Given the weather, a lot of rain, but they made it happen. So just shout out to them. I had a good meeting with Bob and Roger with the Clubhouse Third Nine Committee. They had a questionnaire for me to just answer some questions about what I saw coming up with the Clubhouse possibility. So thanks to them. staffing is always kind of the big issue for us. We currently are pretty low, but luckily I just hired another guy. He's started today, and I got a couple others in the works to come on. So we're looking pretty good. It's just a tough time of year for us as far as that's concerned because we're waiting for our college kids to come back to work. But I think we're going to make it through, and we're looking forward to a good year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, board comments. Jim, you're up.
Yeah, I was really impressed to see this report in our packet by Sarah Larson from the Senior Center. We don't hear much from the Senior Center, and what I have heard, though, is that she's doing a great job working with the seniors and getting that place hopping. It's great to see that, because a lot of times we don't appreciate our seniors as much as we should. Not that I'm a senior, but I'm heading that I am in that situation. But also that grant for that small kitchen in there. If the board wants a history on that building in the future, I can give it to you. But it's great that that's happening, and tell her I appreciate her for what she's doing. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you to Julie for all your hard work on your presentation, even though I don't like any of it. I do appreciate your hard work on all of it, so.
One thing I think we've been talking to staff about is the Ewing Young situation. We are making progress slowly but surely. And part of that is we're going to do some outreach with the neighbors. And I know that it's, audit and finances and budget and all that right now, but that's kind of next on the agenda. We're hoping summer.
Yep, we're looking at summer. We should be able to do some of that outreach. And I have reached out to the cities of Silverton and city of Ompton. Omsville, thank you.
Yeah.
Still new to the area. I don't know every town in the valley. And so they're getting us some additional details related to their experiences on some of the land use alternatives that might be available to us. Because if the board recalls, one of the things that was talked about a long time ago at this point was not only the ability to annex the far side of the property from Ewing Young, but that it would have to go through an urban growth boundary amendment. But in a short conversation with the city of Silverton, they talked about it not being an incredibly hard thing, but it may have been situational. So they're sending us additional details so we can see, is that a situation that we would find ourselves in too, or is it different? Now, one of the things that seems right off the bat is it's really a process designed for cities to do, and we're not a city, so the city would have to do it. So that right there might be different. So we would have to, one, get the context from those other cities, and then two, talk to the city of Newberg about what we'd be expected to go through. So, all right.
Yeah.
We do have apparently a couple of people with hands raised in the chat right now. What would the board like to do?
For public comment online.
Not clear. They're just they're on Zoom and they have their hands raised, and so I'm getting messages from above from our friend Richard.
Okay.
That we just want to know what you all would like to do.
So,
because it's outside the public comment period, we're in board comment. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's Richard.
Richard, everything okay there? Well, we'll go ahead and finish the board comments. We have 2 board members left, and then we'll circle back with Richard and see what that situation is. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to appreciate the staff. I think you guys are doing an awesome job, and I feel very proud to be a part of this organization in this place, but it's all because of what you guys are doing, so thank you.
Okay. Richard, do you know if we have folks that have public comment on anything specific, or what's the message?
It appears that we might be getting Zoom bomb, so it's
Zoom bomb.
probably not public comment as far as I can tell.
Okay. Well, we will move on. Correspondence, I know there was a couple letters we referenced. Was there anything else in the correspondence or in the handouts that we should address before we move into executive session? Okay. With that said, we will be moving into executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions pursuant to ORS 1926602E. We will be moving into another room, and we will convene the executive session in 5 minutes. We will come out of the executive session and announce any other decisions, if any decisions are made.
Me too. It'll, work out the way it's supposed to.
Okay, we are back in session and we are now going to adjourn our meeting.